go away. Shoo, shoo. Shoo, shoo.
Well, this leads into a tools to live by presented by Veyor Watches. Veyor Watches, not only Veyor Watches, but veyorwatches.com/surf splendor is the portal that saves you 15%.
Hate. This is exactly the lead in Vayer wanted.
Exactly. Controversial lead in. This more relates to the influencers, Instagram accounts and YouTube accounts that we were talking about that don't lead with surfing specifically. So Veyor watches, by the way, American made, ocean ready, waterproof guaranteed. So that's kind of, if that's not a selling point, I don't know what is.
I mean, they're the finest watch that you can honestly own these days.
At a fraction of what it would have cost you 10 years ago when it was just all conglomerate giant companies. So
Yep.
direct to consumer. All right. Tools to live by. Dear DLS and Chaz, I'm new to the grit, but I have listened to DLS on Surf Splendor and I often read Beach Grit. I love to go back to old grit episodes and learn the context behind sound clips like I like turtles and keep work. I truly enjoy every episode. Thank you. I'm a forever intermediate, sometimes lower advanced, and I am not proud of it. Not because I have low self esteem or I'm negative towards myself. I just don't feel the need to obsess about an activity that I am at best lower advanced. And when the pros or local legends are in the lineup, I'm back to intermediate. I certainly don't feel compelled to start a surfing meme Instagram account or post an abundance of video diaries or general complaints, nor do I review surfboards or that I have zero business reviewing or that I can barely ride. Or worse yet, obsess on Instagram about how I've always been a surfer, but never ever post surf footage of myself because surprise, surprise, I look like a kook and despite the fact that I've always been a surfer. It's very strange how some of these dudes, by the way, they're always men with these types of accounts, always seem to never post themselves surfing, yet they call themselves lifelong surfers. Crazy how they have no problem using surfing as a vehicle for their Instagram success, but them surfing is the least of what you see on their platform. I'm sure many of them are talented. Wait a second. I'm sure many other sports have these types of fans that don't necessarily have a talent for their sport, but use the sport as a vehicle to engage fans. And that's okay. However, surfing is different. In my opinion, it's an art, not a sport. No need to make yourself an entire social media personality. If, but if you do, you better rip and show us that you rip. So, what is the criteria for calling yourself a lifelong surfer? I'm just trying to make sense of all of this. This sort of reminds me of the barrel or not you guys did about calling yourself a waterman. So, what about calling yourself a lifelong surfer? Making it known that you've always been a surfer, putting it in your IG bio or handle, but posting no evidence to corroborate. Um, it's probably because you are kooky. By the way, I don't want to mention any specific accounts or people because I don't want to direct attention towards them, but they know who they are. You know who they are. We all know. And we all know because you can't hide behind the kooky clips of you surfing forever. Apologies for the long email. It's just that last week's episode got me thinking about these types of things more than usual. I've even seen some of these type of accounts receive attention from known surf personalities, and it just makes me feel weird. We can all agree that surfing in itself is in a weird state right now, and that there are countless of discussions about the state of surfing that stem from what I've mentioned in this email. I can see why Chaz titled his YouTube segment, I Hate Surfing. I don't blame him. Keep work, Miguel. Personally, I feel attacked by this email.
Well, you know who should feel attacked is Nathan Florence. I think this thing was directed solely at Nathan Florence and Koa Rothman, and you guys should do better, A. And that's what I'm going to say about you. But in reality, yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? With this whole business of is exactly right, Miguel. Thank you so much for the email first. And exactly right. It is an art form. If you are a crappy artist, then you gotta lead with being a crappy artist. I remember when we did the Surf Ranch Media Day, that was probably almost 10 years ago now, right? Or
2018.
2018. So not 10 years ago, 8 years ago. 6 years ago. 6 years ago, not even close to 10 years ago, 6 years ago, in any case, we did the Surf Media Day at Surf Ranch. And I think Derek had cause or reason or something to post his clip. Not that Derek Riley is not a, proud out surfer guy, like look at me rip, but there was some reason where he had to. And I thought, well, my clip is not nearly as good as yours, Derek, but I gotta post it too. Not because I think it's good, do not get me wrong, but because I can't hide behind not posting clips of myself surfing, right? It just is what it is. And there's a freedom, I think, to being honest with who you are and how you surf. Like, I think it's maybe easier if you're already a surf personality, quote, end quote, like me. Like, I got to be out anyway. So it's just better if anybody knows, yeah, this is, I don't have to say it. You can look. I'm not very good. I am a lifelong surfer who more or less stinks at surfing. There's a lot of reasons for that. Grew up in Oregon, blah, 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 blah. It's whatever. But there's no excuse. I am a stinky surfer. Uh, if you are an IGer or all this and you're really flexing, you got to start posting clips because, again, to Miguel's point, this is an art. And if you're a crappy artist, I need to know.
So back to the conversation about Felipe being world champ and not being able to surf big waves. Um, when I got into surfing, ripping was a qualifier for even having an opinion about anything happening in surfing.
Yes.
If you didn't rip, you shut up, you studied up, try to learn more about surfing and, learn about technique.
But you keep your
And,
mouth closed.
and then you waited for others to explain what was cool, what was hard about surfing, what was innovative about a turn that somebody did. You know what I mean? Like you did not pipe up you learned, until you had some authority, basically, by ripping. And so all of that has changed. And again, when I said I feel attacked, it's because I can I don't rip, but what I learned kind of as I got older was, man, those people who rip, turns out their opinions are pretty stupid. Turns out they're pretty shallow. Turns out they're pretty homophobic. Turns out they're pretty narrow-minded, or whatever. Not all of them, but ripping it shouldn't be the litmus test for the myriad of other things that exist in surfing and the culture of surfing. So now that we have a bunch of different media platforms or different ways to communicate, what I've realized is I have a certain skill set that is unique. And so, that's what I'm doing here or whatever. And when I watch, there was I won't name the Instagrammer, I guess, but I was having a conversation with Devin Howard a few weeks ago, and I was like, God, did you see that clip? This account that's very popular, a guy posted a clip of himself getting his first tube, and it was a head dip. And he said in the caption, I've been surfing for 10 years and I just got my first tube. It wasn't a proper tube. Again, it was just a head dip and it was really embarrassing, actually. So I saw the clip and I just thought, God, this is embarrassing. Why would you publish that clip? And then own it in the caption by saying you've been surfing 10 years and you just got your first barrel. And then I unfolded the comments, the accordion out, and they're all positive and they're all praise. And there is notable surf personalities and they're praising. And then I thought to myself, wow, I am the outlier. Like, good on this guy for finally getting a tube. Good on him for embracing the fact that he's kooky by admitting that it's been 10 years and, this is where he's at. Like, this is a very realistic assessment of his own skills. And I guess good on everybody else for encouraging and celebrating and just enjoying what it is. I am the curmudgeonly outlying old dude who is negative about all of it.
I mean, but it's essential, right? Like, how does anything get better if everyone is like the critic is an essential part of an ecosystem in order to move any art along? If there was no art critics and everybody who picked up a paintbrush and, canvas, then your Picassos and your Cezannes and your Degas get lost in the flood of everything is great, right? Like
Yeah.
when everything is great, then nothing is great. Everybody knows this, right? And so you need critics to say, yes, but, or this is better than this, or whatever, right? And I think when it comes to surfing, I think you can be a good critic without being a good artist, right? There is such thing. I think I am
Yeah, I
and I don't know that I'm a good critic, but I am like have a skill set, as you said. And when people get on to my various feeds and say, shut up, you are a Barney who stink at surfing, I used to think that has no bearing here on what I'm saying. Growing older now, I think you're probably right at some level. I shouldn't be opening my mouth so much, but it's what I do well. And so, take it or leave it, I guess. But understanding that is a valid criticism. I do not rip, and therefore my opinion on this, that, or the other thing is lesser. Fine. I'm okay there, right? It is what it is. I just think that there should be someone in there saying to this dude, you should feel if you're proud of this, if you're posting this as ripping, if you're not posting this as an honest, this is who I am, man. If you're posting it as look at this, dudes, then that's uncool.
they are the ones that I could think of are very self-aware about their own kind of limited talent, you know? And I think like with a surfboard reviewer, for an example, it's almost or more applicable. It's almost more relevant to have a mediocre surfer reviewing surfboards because the vast majority of surfers that are going to be buying that board are mediocre surfers. To see Michael Ciamarella doing his board reviews on Stab, it's like he's basically a professional surfer. That
He
doesn't
rips.
relate to me. Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing too, I think about actual surfboard reviews is your feeling on a surfboard, the from the intermediate all the way up, from the beginner all the way up, I'm going to say to like lower advanced, your feeling on a surfboard is your own, right? Because Mikey Ciamarella or any board reviewer for that matter says, "Oh, it's got real burst off the bottom." It's got burst off the bottom if you're surfing it properly, right? If your feet are on the right spot and you're on the right wave and you're in the right spot on the wave, et cetera, then yes, I don't care about descriptors. Like the best to me board reviewer out there, and not that he does reviews on the performance, but he's just reviewing the board, is Ron from Board Porn, right? And Ron from Board Porn surfs well. I mean, he really has the backside three on stinking lock. But what Ron knows is boards. So Ron tells you everything you need to know. Now I apply that to what I know about myself, right? Because somebody actually riding it and telling me how it feels to me is completely like unless yeah, is more or less it's not applicable to me at all. Give me the dimensions, give me the leaders, I guess, give me the fin setups, give me this, give me general. I know what that board does good on, right? I know fishes. Oh, sick, look at that fish. I'm going to paddle that out at double overhead, point break. No, like any surfer worth their salt knows where a board goes.
I think the broader thing that Miguel is tapping into and that I've kind of assessed on my own or had to reckon with on my own is there's now a cacophony of surf commentators from board reviews to just what we're doing to whatever vloggers um, that is mediocre talents and it somehow dilutes all of the meaning and the culture. It's like the experts are almost the minority. And now it's like, I don't know, like if Lauren or just somebody random comes across surf related content on Instagram, the odds are it's some Barney explaining something who really almost doesn't have any authority to be explaining what it is.
Yeah. Uh-oh, David Lee Scales. We opened the floodgates. We helped open the floodgates. We weren't the first through those floodgates, but we were through for sure.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
It's
but that's
really it's oversaturated with kooks. Like the kooks are running the asylum at this point.
I mean, the problem is the democratization
Yes.
of media is the problem. Is that everybody now can make a YouTube just because you can, should you? Anybody can make an Instagram account. Anybody can do this stuff, and it's great that everyone has tools. But again, there's just too much noise. There is too much noise right now, and there's too much noise with no hoops.
Mhm.
Like or dislike what we do here, there is a good amount of listeners, right? Which is proof in the pudding. There is advertisers, there is other things, like or dislike my writing. I published 4 books, and those go through publishing houses. They're not self-published, right? So my agent first had to
Vetting.
read it. The buyer at the publishing house had to read it. The goes through so many different layers where there's just no layer on. I think those layers, gatekeepers, we like to call them, David Lee Scales,
Yeah.
are important. And there's no gatekeepers now. So it's just that we're in the era of free for all.
And the ultimate gatekeeper is an audience that either, gives it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And what's shocking, I think, today, and Miguel's point probably, is some of the kookiest content creators where it feels like there's no substance and there's no value necessarily, and there's no unique insights and there's no talent, are gaining the most views.
I
And
mean,
that's the shocking topsy-turvy point that we're at right now in surfing.
are you talking about Ben Graff?
No, actually, I'm not. But
Yeah,
there's others. I mean, he is the tip of the spear, I think, originally
but
5 years ago.
But
But
here's the thing about Ben Gravy. Ben Gravy had a skill, and Ben Gravy is not a bad surfer. Like Ben
right,
Gravy's whole
right.
shtick, I may used to have been annoyed with it. Now I think I give Ben Gravy the 2 pineapple thumbs up of like, you go at it, man. Like you fully have developed
Yeah.
your own look, feel, and are doing your own thing. And I completely understand and applaud. I don't necessarily watch, but I follow Ben on Instagram, and I'm never that annoyed when I come to a Ben Gravy clip. I'm never like, I don't hate follow Ben. I
No,
enjoy Ben's content.
totally. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've come around to him as well. But he was the first. And now there's a bunch who kind of follow in a similar fashion who have even less talent, let's say.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I think maybe Miguel, it's time to get off Instagram. If you're this enraged by it, maybe that is the ultimate advice. He did end on a more high note, I would say. And he said, P.S. My final thought regarding last week's episode about calling your um, calling your spouse your quote partner. I totally agree. Husband or wife, 100%. Same sex relationship. You guys need to get to work figuring out what to call yourselves, because partner is not it. No question there. However, there is one way that a couple could consider themselves partners, and it seems appropriate. And here it goes. My grandmother, who is a widow going on 15 years, recently caught up with her college sweetheart, who's also been a widow for more than a decade. They began seeing each other regularly over the past year. Today, they are together. They've rekindled something that they had many moons ago. It's beautiful to witness, in my opinion. They already had a whole life with their spouses, their children, their grandchildren, etc. Now they keep each other company. Perhaps they are partners or companions in similar terms.
Okay, I will grant this, except it does need to come with the caveat end of life partner. This is my end of life partner because li- like I totally get like my grandma also like was married, you know, have 4 kids, blah, 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 blah. Husband or my grandpa, died tragically. And then she went on a couple years and then same diff, right? You're lonely, met this dude. But in the context kind of how things went, was kind of forced to marry him, but it was weird and it was a weird wedding. And it's weird when old people get married. Let's be honest. Like ship has sailed. You don't need to get married if you're an old person. Uh, so there does need to be a category. I'm going to go end of life partner.
Old people, though, sometimes are have like a dogmatic view on religion, and so like they're not willing to live together or have sex or whatever unless they get married. So I think that's where those weddings come in.
I mean, maybe, and you are probably certainly right, but I wonder how much the physical, let's be honest, is part of that dynamic where it really is more of a partnership. It's more we are gonna keep each other not lonely. There's gonna be eyes on in case one of us falls. Like that does seem like a business partnership. It
In
is
case
your
one of us falls. It is true, though. I mean, it's a real thing.
yeah.
But I think the physicality, you might be underestimating it a little bit. I've thought about this a lot, and I would love for listeners. Do we have any 90-year-old listeners? Call in and let
We
us
did
know
we
what your
did have
sex
a
life is
who
like.
who emailed in the 76-year-old or whatever it was. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's different though. I mean 70s are different than 90s.
that's true.
Um,
But 70s, if I recall, he was upper 70s. Maybe he was 74.
I'm still curious to know about his sex life too, to be perfectly honest. Um, but that does, I've this conversation has come up over the years, like retirement communities have the greatest incident of sexually transmitted diseases. Um, there's one man for every seven women, and they don't use or protect condoms because they're not worried about birth control, but they're transferring diseases. So yeah, it is an interesting, very interesting topic, but I don't think they're not having sex. I think they're having sex at a lesser frequency. Maybe libido wanes as you get older, but I think that they are absolutely still getting physical.
Still then, end of life partner though, I'm going to rubber stamp that as okay.
Okay. Boom.
But you got to say the whole thing. You got to say, "Hello, I am with Mary. She's my end of life partner."
Okay. What if though they live, maybe they have multiple end of life partners? I'm not saying
Sure.
like
You can break up with an end of life partner. It's not like this is you're not saying this is my forever partner or this is
it,
my till the
you're
grave
kind of
partner.
you're kind of implying it's the end of they're going to see you through till the end of life.
I mean, you're theoretically seeing each other through at the ends of your life, but like you can have multiple of those, right? This is
Okay.
not like this is my partner all the way till the end of my life. No, it's
Okay.
just my end of life partner.
All right. Well, I like it.